Okay, I think we're going live now. All right, I think we good. I think we're finally good. Now we're good.
We
Welcome back
back.
to the welcome back to the stream, guys. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Periscope, you guys are now officially back in. Of course, YouTube, you guys were already there, in Twitch, and so we were in the middle of talking about it, and of course, I let Chaz do all of this great dissertation about what was going on, and then nobody could hear it. So Chaz, do it again. Give me give me your info again, man, about your takeaways from today's game.
Just in a nutshell, too much LeBron and AD. This is why you go ahead and get the stars and the generational talent, and you trade the extra two pick swaps that you need to pick or trade in order to finalize a deal, like you did for Anthony Davis, like Pelinka did last June, because he had 43 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. I mean, he played great, and he made shots that were just
Yeah,
tough shots that are with one dribble pull ups, no dribble pull ups, running the lane, getting easy baskets, put back dunks. I mean, he was all over the place. And LeBron obviously doing what he's going to do, gets his 25th career playoff triple double, 36, 10, and 10. I mean, LeBron and AD were a plus 35 combined tonight. So I didn't like the defense, but starting out with what I did like, just too much LeBron and AD
yeah.
overall, and stars are going to win games and series for you,
Yeah,
and that's essentially what happened here in a nutshell. Especially when you don't have another star on the opposite side in Damian Lillard.
yeah, and that I think that was kind of why Frank Vogel was calling this a trap game. Was anytime you have a superstar that's off the court, that just opens the floodgates for the other team to just have the green light to shoot. Really, Portland had nothing to lose tonight, and so a lot of that combined with the Lakers' laziness on defense, being up 3-1, this really losing the rhythm and the pace of getting into the bubble. They were kind of finding their rhythm. Then, of course, they postponed, of course, for the protests. And so now that they're getting back into the rhythm, you saw when LeBron and AD decided, let's just end it.
Oh
And
yeah,
they and you said it. There really was no answer for it, and especially I noticed that everything shifted once Whiteside not just dislocated his finger, but got into foul trouble, and then of course Melo got into foul trouble as well. And shots out to the Portland Trailblazers. Hats off to them. Trent Jr., Carmelo, rolling
no
back.
shame.
Yeah, I
Those
mean
guys played hard.
they had the green light tonight, and it was good to see. It was good to see that, and I also think that it was a good experience heading into what I believe is going to be the Houston Rockets coming out of this series. But I think it's good to kind of see the 3-point shooting and kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like, because if you saw towards the end of the game, a lot of those missed defensive rotations, you could see the frustration on the players, like a Caruso and even like a Dwight, where bigs were left wide open in the paint. 3-point shooters were left wide open on the perimeter. And it was one of those things where those were just boneheaded mistakes, especially with a team like the Lakers who play such terrific defense so often and pretty consistently. I wanted to say today my two MVPs that were kind of hidden were, of course, Alex Caruso and Kyle Kuzma. As crazy as that sounds, this
Loved
dude
his
was
defense tonight.
there. It is the defense. He was so active tonight, and he obviously had a lot of fouls tonight. I think he had 5 fouls tonight, and he only finished with 8 points, and he was 3 of 12 shooting. But for me, the young Kyle Kuzma, only been in the league for 3 years, but the young Kyle Kuzma would hang his entire hat on shooting. And tonight,
Right.
shooting wasn't there for him tonight, and that's fine. You had Anthony Davis and LeBron, and that wasn't so much needed from you tonight. But he was able to find his momentum and his passion, man, really on the defensive end, and even getting upset when he got called for fouls that he felt like he played good defense. That to me is a sign that he's maturing in his game, and prayerfully, we'll see that he's gonna,
Yeah,
he'll be able to put the defense and the offense together consistently, especially in the next round. Anakat Mohan says AD and LeBron were so efficient, and I think you just spoke to that. It wasn't even
yeah.
that they were just scoring, but they were so efficient with their scoring. 14 of 18 and 14 of 19, 4 of 6 from three, 4 of 7 for three from LeBron James. I don't think you could ask for really anything better than that.
Anthony Davis is shooting the ball great. I don't know if he shot the ball as well as he has in this stretch in the bubble or in this series like he has so far. I mean, he's shooting everything. Mid-range Jays. Obviously, he's shooting almost 90% from the free throw line. He's got to be shooting more better than 35% from the 3-point line for the series. So maybe even 40+%. Who knows? I mean, we'll look that up maybe a little later.
Yeah.
But overall, I just liked how the Lakers, shot 5 for 32 in that first game, but shot 38% for the rest of the series, maybe even higher than that. 39% in this past game, 14 to 36. I didn't like the free throw shooting. Still only, missing some key free throws. Made a lot. I mean, we made a lot more than we did all series in this game at 80%, 21 to 26. But
True.
Still too many missed free throws. I'd like to clean that up a little bit more. But they played like it was a closeout game. They weren't lackadaisical. Portland was just hitting shots and getting themselves open and playing good defense. So hats off to them for not laying down when their best player was out of the bubble. And, hats off to Carmelo Anthony for guaranteeing himself on an NBA roster next year.
Absolutely.
Shot the ball very well, 27 points, came out and made big play after big play, and held that Portland team together with Damian Lillard out, along with CJ McCollum obviously having 36 points. So, worthy opponent.
This game wasn't even close without Carmelo Anthony playing the way he was playing tonight. And you're right, man. It felt good. And there was moments where you saw LeBron and Carmelo going back at it. Of course, when LeBron was able to get the offensive foul off of Carmelo for the fifth foul and just started yelling at him, "See, come on, Melo, come on." And you love seeing that. You're seeing two veterans who've been in the game for a long time. LeBron has been in this position as far as playoffs and championship contention for a long time. Melo primarily as one of those scorers that you look at and you go, man, it's good to see him still feeling like he's in his prime. And here's a stat that came out tonight that was very interesting. But Anthony Davis is the first non-Kobe Laker to have a 40-point playoff game in 18 years.
Since Shaq in 02.
Since Shaq in 02. First non-Kobe. So, other than that, there it is. And that was Shaq in the 2002 finals where he put up 40 points. So, it's insane to even think about that some of the stuff we're doing right now, as ugly as it may seem, especially in games like this, we're still setting back the hands of time, going back to those championship years and putting up tremendous stats. Here's James Michael, mom and pop shop from SoCal defeated tech mogul from Pacific Northwest. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm sure Dion had some beef with Vogel. How do you not get minutes when JR does some awful mistakes on the court every game?
He had a migraine.
Yeah, he had
a migraine. He was a game time decision. He wasn't playing a lot anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, JR with the bonehead play, you step out of bounds, you step out of bounds. I mean, he was like a whole 2 feet out of bounds when he shot the ball, but
for real,
I don't think he saw the floor again after that. And plus, the Lakers just didn't need Dion. Scoring wasn't the issue. Obviously, he was scoring 131 points in regulation. Defense was the issue more than anything in the second quarter, as well as the fourth quarter to close out the game. But love the defense in the third quarter. Just not towards the end of the third quarter where CJ started to get off and then made that fourth quarter a little bit too close for comfort. But again, LeBron kept going to the basket. I like that he didn't settle for jumpers. I love that AD was still working his way up under the basket, making his free. I mean, the guy only took 18 shots tonight, but made 14 of those 18.
Yeah,
that's why he's plus 15 on the night, because he also put up 9 rebounds and 4 assists and a block with that. So, I mean, doing work. I mean, this is, you guys want to play off AD and play off Bron, you got him in a major way early on. In the first series. So props to those guys.
Yeah, and what I loved watching was what happens when a team has to go small ball. When Whiteside got into foul trouble, and of course Nurkic is not really a big, he's not even anywhere near physical. It felt good to see how the Lakers would play that, especially on the defensive end when the Rockets were kind of going into that weird box zone that the Lakers kind of had trouble with a little bit. But being able to watch that helps me to project what it's going to look like against a small ball team like the Rockets. 24K Petty from Periscope says, Chaz the Prophet. Chaz the Prophet. You called it. This is everything that's happened so far. You've called it. I mean, to the T. So once again, He's gonna say it. He's gonna say, "Don't let him say it." I'm telling y'all, this dude has it, man.
Lakers in 5. I said it. I don't want to toot my own horn. I just retweeted myself from like 2 weeks ago. This wasn't a hard series to call. You
No.
knew that Portland didn't play any defense, and you knew that Dame was going to get off for at least one game, and LeBron and AD were just going to be too much for these guys. You just knew it. If you know basketball, you just knew that was probably more so the outcome than not. Not guaranteeing that was going to happen, but that was just a likelihood. Now, with Houston or OKC, that's where it gets a little bit dicey. Personally, I'd rather see OKC than Houston.
Yeah.
I don't think the Lakers would have a problem either way. If the Lakers saw OKC, it would be Lakers in 5 because I would give Chris Paul at least a game. And if it was Houston, I'd say Lakers in 6 because James Harden and Russell Westbrook are going to get off for at least a game, maybe 2, maybe even 3. I wouldn't be surprised if that series went 7 games. But, either way, Lakers are in the second round. I don't want to look too far ahead.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy for the win tonight, and I'm happy that we got our first playoff series win in over 8 years. Congrats, Laker Nation. We on.
Which feels good. We on, man. We on. I'm starting to agree with Blake. This is one of the comments from Monica Mohan on YouTube. I'm starting to agree with Blake. That's Blake St. Clair. That's my favorite sparring partner. Kuz can't be trusted offensively. I'm okay with his defense. Might be a problem going forward. Of course, Kuz settling below 10 points tonight. And while he did have
experience. It's just experience. It's experience in the playoffs when you're playing against a box and one with LeBron and AD on the floor at the same time. I'm not going to harp on the kid too much. He's playing hard. I didn't like those 2 missed free throws that he short-armed, I believe in the 3rd or 4th quarter, but I love the defense that he played tonight, the tenacity that he played with consistently. It's not like he's doing it first quarter and then dropping it off for the rest of the game. He's doing it consistently in every single game. He's getting rebounds, and he's playing his role. It's just going to come with time and experience to know his spots.
Yeah.
You saw him with the Kobe footwork on Simons with the right hand fadeaway jumper.
Yeah.
So I can't harp on the kid too much, but I understand both sides at the same time, but
yeah,
Kuz is doing exactly what he's supposed to do.
Absolutely. Right, and you really didn't need as much scoring from Kuz tonight because KCP had it going tonight with 4 of 9 from the 3-point line. And you love seeing that. When KCP has it going, it's not that Kuz can't score, but you just even the minutes don't even make as much sense. Kuz only going for 25 minutes, and then KCP
when you have
for 28.
Especially when you have LeBron and AD going for almost 40 each.
Right.
Each.
Right. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? And for someone like you said, like Kuz, who has made his kind of his name in scoring, to watch him to be so active outside of scoring, and so you may not get from him offensively what we expected when we got him, out of summer league. But the truth is that that's not what's totally needed on this team, especially when people like KCP have it going. James Michael says, shout out to AC. Clutch D enabled LBJ and AD in the 4th. And this is one of the reasons why there was such a welcoming for him being signed. It's not because he's going to give you 35 points or he's going to give you 16 rebounds, but he's going to give you the plays that matter when they matter. And even when the rest of the team seems like they're falling behind energy-wise, Caruso comes out with the same 110% effort every single time. And he seems to be in the right place at the right time every time.
Because he knows angles and positioning. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
He just knows angles and positioning. And shout out to Kuz and Caruso for being on that 2017 Summer League Championship team to going all the way from then all the way to now, 3 years later, to winning the first postseason series for the franchise in 8+ years. So started from the bottom, now you here, guys. Just those guys alone, what they've been through just in these last few years, even just in the last year, along with the rest of the Lakers, man, I get goosebumps just even thinking about the rest of the playoffs. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's good that we close this out. See you guys Wednesday or Friday because we don't know what OKC and Houston is going to do. So hopefully it's OKC.
And to reference what Chaz is talking about in the series between OKC and Houston, if it does go to Game 7, then the earliest that the Lakers would play would be Friday. And then, of course, if the Houston Rockets are able to take care of business, then we would see them on Wednesday. Either way, we have a chance to get rested, get ourselves together. I don't know, and this is probably something that may want to comment on, is I don't know how active Rondo will be in the next series. I know that said he's back into practice, and he seems pretty much ready to go. But being off for so long, obviously he's been really off as far as we can tell since March for the most part. So he hasn't really hit a game floor since the pandemic. So how much of Rondo do you anticipate seeing in the next round?
Not too much, but I would expect to see him on the floor for sure. It's really all about the practice time that he gets in the next week, how his body responds to it, and what the lineups are looking like and the matchups are looking like once the Lakers play that first game against likely Houston. So,
Yeah.
I mean, assuming that it is Houston, once they get on the floor and once they have those different matchups, they can see it and they have tape, you'll see a lot more of Rondo after that. Depending on how his back responds, I would like to hope that he's going to be okay and we're going to be able to get some kind because we need him badly. I mean, there was a point where we had to take out LeBron and AD in the first quarter of this game because AD got into foul trouble early with 2 early fouls, and then LeBron obviously, comes out at the end of the first quarter anyway with 3 to 4 minutes left. So, I mean, just in that situation alone, you want to have another ball handler out there. And having Rondo out there along with KCP or Caruso or Kuzma or Danny Green is going to do wonders for our offense and not force the issue with JR or Dion Waiters right now because those guys aren't as acclimated as Rondo would be. So I really hope that we see him in the next round and going forward.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think people forget, like there was a push from the NBA just to go straight into the playoffs, and the players pushed to have some games prior to that, not just the scrimmage, but even finishing out the regular season as best as possible, for the main reason of getting their basketball legs into shape and kind of getting back into that place of running a full game. And so this is one of the things that Rondo's going to have to play catch up on because everybody else has at least gotten some run, figured out rotations a little bit. But I think he's enough of a veteran that he understands his body, understands how minutes roll. And I think, if anything else, if we can get past the second round, you're going to probably see Rondo at playoff Rondo speed going into probably the most important round, which would be the Western Conference Finals. And once again, we don't want to look too far ahead, but I anticipate that we can get there.
We can look ahead now because our series is over. So we don't know about them, but I know I corrected myself by saying that earlier, but we can look ahead now. It's over.
There you go. There it is. Tam Marino, this is our own Justin Stover. Let's go. Handle business this round. Bron and AD putting the league on notice. And man, we are so physical. Should be extremely beneficial in round 2 against Houston. And Justin is right, man. There were plenty of moments where our bigs were, putting the pain on them cats in the paint, man. Morris, Dwight Howard, even AD was doing some beast work down below. And I can't think of another team that has 3 physical bigs like the way we do. I'm not going to count JaVale in that, but at least having Morris and Davis and Howard being able to beast on the boards, and if they're not calling fouls, that benefits the Lakers.
I want to say something real quick, and we might put this down as maybe another possible profit moment for me, but I want to go on a limb and say that Anthony Davis is going to average more than 35 points in the series against Houston. Assuming that it is Houston and Houston wins game 6 and their first playoff game against each other will be Wednesday in that scenario. Anthony Davis, this is just a warm-up for him. Nurkic, Whiteside, Damian Lillard, McCollum, Melo, that was just a warm-up for AD. AD got his basketball stroke going. He's in that zone. You see he's making free throws. He's aggressive going to the bucket. He had that first game where he was like a deer in the headlights. Even though he still had 28 and 12, didn't play the way that he really should have and knew he could have. And now he's all warmed up. He's ready to go. The last time he saw Houston, he only had 17 points, albeit in a pointless bubble game. But AD will average 35 plus points in the series against Houston and put me down for maybe even a 40 burger for the whole series. Average.
Y'all heard it
Why?
first.
Why? Because PJ Tucker is barbecue chicken for AD. As long as AD keeps the same mentality as he has now to be able to go into the post and do what he needs to do. So I'm going out on a limb. They don't have anybody for LeBron. It's going to be LeBron and Harden going back and forth. Russell Westbrook is obviously going to do his thing. And obviously, I don't want to look too far ahead, but I think it's really going to be Houston. I don't see OKC winning 2 games in a row against Houston. So I'm looking for AD to average 35-40 in the next round.
I can't wait to see it. I'll say that right now, man. I can't wait to see it. And you're right. He's found a zone. And whatever zone he's in right now is allowing LeBron to play LeBron's way. You saw plenty of passes in those last 4 minutes where LeBron was just finding AD on cuts. It was beautiful to watch two-man basketball like that. In fact, Snacks HC says LeBron and AD are the best duo in the NBA. And I can
hands down.
Yeah, and I love CJ and Dame, and I love Russ and Harden, and whoever else you want to throw in there. They're not LeBron and AD. Period. And they're not going to be. And that's fine. But for us, this is the reason why we get excited about trading away all those players for AD. This is why you get excited about LeBron James coming to your team. Even when we have slumps where we lose 2 and 3 or 4 games in a row, you know what they're capable of, and this is what they're capable of. And now that you're in the playoffs, you're going to see that far more consistently. Blake St. Clair, my boy, is back. You can just feel the Lakers are going to look at Melo as a backup option next year. And to be honest, with our lack of shooting, I don't know why you wouldn't want a great mid-range game outside of his defensive, his lacking in the defensive area. But would you take Melo next year?
Over who, though? Like, to be honest with you, look, he's playing great.
Yep.
But the way that the Lakers click, because they have LeBron and AD, and because they have who they have, and the flexibility that they have, I'll take him. Let me just get that straight. I'll take him, but I'm not prioritizing him over shooters and 3-point specialists or defensive specialists for that matter. But on a minimum deal, $1-2 million a year, absolutely, if he's available. But for this team, defensively, and the mindset that we have, and the head coach that we have, and the leadership that we have with LeBron and AD at the top, I'll take him, but I'm not prioritizing him. Let's just put it that way.
I wonder what he would do underneath a defensive-minded coach. It makes me wonder if there is something in there, but it's probably way too late in his career to even try to teach that dog new tricks. But I do know one thing. The man can score from that mid-range, and tonight he was hot from 3. But you're right. On a team like this, the chemistry is really built on being able to play on both sides. And while we struggle with shooting, obviously in crucial moments, Danny Green had some wide opens that he missed tonight. You can't make up for what they do and understand on the defensive rotations. And that's going to make you valuable. That's going to make you valuable. And of course, tonight, the Portland Trailblazers, they had almost a 70-point half. But that's mainly because the Lakers just weren't playing defense. But when they decide to play defense, it is lights out from there. Who do you want to see the Lakers play, OKC or Houston? And I believe you said OKC over Houston. Now, what were your points in that? Is it because Houston has 3-point shooters, or do you believe, in my personal opinion, the Oklahoma City Thunder seem to match up with this a little bit more physical with cats like Dort and things like that? And, of course, Chris Paul just finds a way to make things happen, which is why they're in the position they're in right now to even possibly extend to 7 games. So you would rather have Houston over OKC, or you'd rather have OKC over Houston?
I'd rather face OKC than Houston. And I'm not going to get all analytical or too deep into it. It's just about what we saw tonight. Why did the Lakers win tonight? Ultimately, yes, they played good defense, but they had LeBron and AD, and the Blazers did. Star power. Same thing with Houston versus OKC. I'd rather face OKC than Houston because of the star power that Houston has. James Harden can go off for 40 anytime, and Westbrook is a walking triple double waiting to happen at any time if he gets hot, or even if he just has enough gas in the tank to go for enough minutes to get you what you need to put you over the top. Star power, star power, star power. That's what it's about in this league, especially in the playoffs, especially in the later rounds. I'd rather take my chances with OKC than Houston. Obviously, I don't care because the Lakers won the season series against both of those teams anyway. I would pick Lakers in 6 against Houston or Lakers in 5 against OKC. But if you're telling me to pick me, I'm picking OKC.
And to be honest with you, my reasons for picking Houston would be selfish for 2 reasons. Number one, I want to see what it looks like to go against that small ball team and go at D'Antoni and just have his job ended. And then 2, I live in Houston, and I just think it would be great to be able to walk around in my Braun jersey at the HEB market and sit in the parking lot and just wait for people to come by. And look at them funny. I love it. It's going to be fantastic, especially when the Dodgers win the World Series as well.
Speak on it.
Speak on it, man. James, we're 1 month away, by the way, from the baseball playoffs. So there's going to be a point where the Lakers could be in the finals, and you see the baseball playoffs happening at right around the same time, and that would be first.
Dodgers 25-10, running away with the National League, best record in all of baseball. Mind your business.
I almost said LA our way, but that's not the truth. James and Michael, should McGee and Dwight accept low minutes or DMPs on the next series? May need some buy in there.
So it's really all about the matchups and how they play. If Dwight is able to give you 11-9 or 11-6 like he did, then yes. If JaVale can give you spot minutes and those guys can combine for, 10, 15 rebounds each a night, maybe more, plus 10, 15 points, absolutely. But if they're just getting eaten up on defensive rotations and they're spreading it, and Houston is spreading it out a little bit too much, then they might not get as many minutes. That's why I'm saying Anthony Davis is going to average 35 to 40 just off of effort plays, just off of the amount of minutes he's going to have to play, because I don't see JaVale and Dwight getting extended minutes like they have in this series, like they had previously. But I do think that Dwight and JaVale are going to see sometimes. It's just about what they do with the time that they get, and then obviously AD making up for whatever time that they don't get with his level of production. He's going to play a lot of the 5 in the next series if it's against Houston. If it's not, then look for AD to probably play just a few less minutes because you have Steven Adams, and OKC's a bit of a bigger team.
Absolutely. Steven Adams he understands. He understands how to get physical. But the truth is like one of the biggest things about Houston against the Lakers is that they run, and they're a huge transition team. And when you have someone like JaVale or Dwight who's not able to keep up as well, then no matter how great they can or how much of a mismatch they have on the offensive end, going back the other way, it's almost like 4-on-5 because Houston will either get a 3-point shot off or they're at the bucket before the bigs could even get down the floor. So one of the benefits of having an AD at the 5 is he can guard guards, and he can run up and down the floor without issue. Jason Jeter says, round 2, how do you guys... Oh, well, this is the same question. He says, how do you guys feel about the matchup with Houston? Mario Goodman says, can we trust KCP and Caruso? I didn't think this would be an actual question. I've always felt that we can trust Caruso, but I feel like maybe KCP is. Are we saying he's not trustworthy in the next round?
He's a little up and down, but ultimately he's gotten his 12 to 15 points after that bad first game against the Portland Trailblazers where he shot 0 for 9. And the short answer is yes, for 2 reasons. Yes, because we actually can trust them, and 2, because we don't have a choice. That's what we got. So we're gonna have to trust these guys, and we're gonna have to pray that they come through and shoot, 4 for 6 instead of 2 for 8 from the 3-point line, and get 12 to 15 points if he can, or by committee. Even if it's not just one player, I'm still waiting for Danny Green to go off for 20 plus points at some point this playoffs. It's going to happen. It's just the law of averages. But By committee, if it's Caruso, KCP, Danny Green, um, Markieff Morris, JR, Dion, if it's a collective effort by the bench to be able to get the additional scoring that's needed to assist Anthony and Davis and LeBron James with the scoring load, then so be it. But like I said, it's all about star power. These guys are going to get you 35 points, plus points each if you really need them to. All you got to do is play them 40-plus minutes each and keep them out of foul trouble. And I'm talking about LeBron and AD because those guys played 36 and 34 minutes respectively, and AD himself had a 40-burger tonight. So
Just
it is what it is.
It's insane what this cat is doing, man.
It is what it is.
Showtime Forum says Showtime Forum is the Kuz hive. Listen, man, we believe in our boy Kuz, man. And his mom put out a very powerful post when they were talking about, there was some commentary about the mental state. Danny Green spoke to this about how their only interaction with the outside world is through social media. And of course, you know, social media can be brutal, especially when you're playing with the Laker brand on your back. So it's important for us to remind ourselves that even when we're dealing with, you know, criticizing, as we should always criticize, but we also got to make sure that we throw positivity their way, because they don't have the sound of Staples. I can only imagine if we would have closed that game.
We would have
tonight.
been going crazy at Staples Center if we were there tonight.
Insane.
I mean,
yeah, man, yeah.
Don't even get me started, man.
And hopefully we can do it next year.
We are going to do it next year. There's no doubt about that. Remember, we got LeBron James locked in for a guaranteed one more year, and obviously Anthony Davis is going to re-sign for 2+1, 3+1, 5-year deal, whatever it is he feels like signing. So we own for next year.
We own for next year, man. Blake St. Clair said KCP has been stealing Danny Green's prayers. So apparently this thing that we're looking for Danny Green to do, to break out, apparently KCP has been stealing a lot of that mojo and momentum. But right now, either one of them is fine for me. I'm fine with either one of those starters. If you're adding 14, 15, even possibly 20 points to the already 30-plus that's coming from AD and Bron, that to me is a winning formula for me. That's almost 70 points of your team coming off of your starting lineup. And that means you can get Kuz, and you can get Dwight giving you 11, and you can get, you know, these other players getting active and adding points. I think that's a better solution to me, and having Danny Green just hit the threes when they're necessary. He was 1 of 6 tonight, but we believe that he's going to turn it around at some point. The question is, how long do you wait for him to turn it on before you give up on Danny Green?
You don't give up on Danny. Danny Green could go 0 for the next 8 games, and he's still going to get the same amount of minutes as he's getting right now. Why? Because he gets it done on the defensive end, and he doesn't just do one thing. Obviously, he mainly shoots the ball, but he gets his body in front of people. He's a veteran presence in the locker room. Gives confidence to other guys, and law of averages. He's gonna shoot the ball well at some point consistently, and he hasn't been as bad as people make him out to be. I mean, obviously he didn't have a great first game with Portland, or not obviously he hasn't had a great bubble overall, but he shot the ball fairly well in the last 4 games, or else the Lakers wouldn't have won the last 4 games in a row. So
that's true.
Ultimately, you don't give up on Danny Green because, like I said before, this is what you got.
This is it.
There's no trade deadline. There's no more trades to be made. There's no more two ways. There's no more
none of that
pickups. It's none of that. You got what you got, and you roll with the guy. And if you're paying him $15 million, you're not just gonna let him sit on the bench. So might as well put him in the game.
Put him out there, man. L3 Goat, LeGoat, that's what I want to say, from on Periscope, says AD was an effing monster. He's in the zone. He's turning into an alpha in our own eyes, right before our eyes. I don't know. Is this the alpha AD that we're looking for? I saw him talking a lot of trash in that fourth quarter, which I appreciated. But are we seeing the emergence of an alpha at this moment?
So I'm not comparing him to Kobe or Durant or any of these guys, but he hit some shots tonight in this series that only those guys can hit.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking one dribble pull up fades. You're talking no dribble, face up, reverse pivot jumpers. You're talking step back threes. You're talking running the lane and getting put back dunks and tip ins and altering shots and blocking shots at the same time. But just from a shot perspective, he hit that, I think, the shot over Nurkic where he just put Nurkic in just a terrible position to where he didn't even take a dribble.
Yeah.
And when you don't take a dribble and you can just use your jab step and the threat of your dribble to be able to create space and not even hit the rim when you're making some of these shots, and it's just all net, and you're just facing up and running the back on the other end and forcing the other team to call timeout after timeout. Anthony Davis is in a zone that's unlike any other, and the further he's in this and the further these games go along, by the time the Western Conference Finals and the finals come, he's going to be so deep into that zone, we're not even going to know what happened. So
For real.
Yeah, I'm loving the touch on his shot and the way that he's shooting the ball right now. It's great.
Man, okay. Blake said he's waiting for Danny Green, a film arriving in 2035. Yeah, it's out of pocket, man. Completely out of pocket. Listen, I think what we saw in this entire series are two big things. Number one, we saw game one where we lost, and we were able to see what the Lakers look like when they wake up by game two. And then when you got to game three, game four, and game five, you don't even want to really assess it based upon the opponent. Obviously, Dame getting hurt, and then tonight was obviously not a good way to assess with so many injuries, and they were already short. Gabriel was a late scratch, dislocated finger on Whiteside. CJ's playing with a broken back. Collins wasn't even in. So you don't want to assess it by that, but what you do want to assess it by is their aggressiveness. How are they looking as a team? And what we saw tonight was momentum. What you saw was the culmination of knowing how to close out a game. Let's also be very clear that there are plenty of teams who get to these positions and they end up losing that game as opposed to having the gentleman's sweep. They allow the team to get to 5, 6, 7 games because they don't end it when they're supposed to. And to see the Clippers are a perfect example for that. And so right now you're seeing the Lakers really evolve into this next level of playoff mentality, which is what you want to see. All of the conditions are really antithetical to what we believe playoff basketball to be. Traveling on the road, having home court advantage, those things are thrown away. Playing in the months that you normally would be getting into training camp, and summer league is over, and you're still playing. Like, you understand, this is the longest NBA season in history. These cats started playing a year ago. I hope people understand that summer league was a year ago, and here we are in August, about to hit September this upcoming week, and so these cats are still playing. And so this season has been a long season, and you can't count the 4-month break because that was quarantine. So with all of that being said, to see this team progress the way they've been progressing, it makes me excited about what it's going to look like come the next round and prayerfully the round after that. So here's my question for you, Chaz. Here's the big culminating question of today's live show. What worries you about the next round?
Defensive intensity and consistently. That's it. Because our shots are going to come. The offense and the way that players have to honor LeBron and AD is in a way to where we're going to get open shots. And I'm not worried about going cold and shooting 5 for 32 again. I know that our guys are going to shoot 35 to 40% consistently moving forward. I trust that. If they don't, they don't. And that's just part of the game. But outside of injuries, assuming that everybody's healthy, the only thing I'm worried about is either not playing enough defense consistently enough and letting Houston get off and make threes and not close out. But I have such confidence in Vogel's defense and the collaboration that he has with not only his staff but his players and the personnel that we have with the bigs and AD and even Caruso on the perimeter. And we have LeBron James, who defensively is stout when he wants to be, as we've seen even in this bubble on Kawhi and Paul George in that first game against the Clippers. So that's really the only concern that I have. But is it really that big of a concern? Not really. Not given the way that the way that they played defense against the Portland Trailblazers in this opening series. So it's either defense or shot making. And right now, the shots are falling for the most part, at least at a 35 to 40% clip. And defensively, we're locked in. So let's just say I ain't got no worries.
I love this man right here, man. That was perfectly placed, man. So I'm gonna go through a few of these comments, man. We're gonna end the night. But James Michael says AD's gonna feast the next series as long as he doesn't post up much. Posting up against Houston is a trap. They want their opponents to post them up, so we shouldn't fall for that. And I haven't really noticed that. I know we lost. Somebody asked the question before: are they gonna play us the same way as the last time we played them? Last time we played the Houston Rockets, we lost, and I don't remember much about that game.
LeBron didn't play.
Oh.
I believe that was a game that LeBron didn't play. Anthony Davis played. Anthony Davis played even worse than how he played in that first game against Portland. Right? Even though he had 28 and 12, he just played like, just weak. He just didn't play, like you knew that he could. Not like how he played tonight. Let's just say that. So he played even worse than that. Kuzma played pretty good in that game, I remember. But defensively, we were all over the place, and Houston was just hitting shots. PJ Tucker was taking Anthony Davis's lunch money on the block, and Jeff Green was getting off for 3 after 3, along with Daniel House and even Ben McLemore. So if last game is any indication of how the series is going to go, that's why I want Houston in the second round. I'm sorry, OKC instead of Houston in the second round. But ultimately, like I said, I have confidence in Vogel's defensive schemes, the personnel that we have, to where whoever it is that we face, I ain't got no worries. That's it.
Ain't got no worries. Here's a great stat for tonight. LeBron James is the first Laker with a 30-point triple-double since 1988. Can you guess the player that had the triple-double in 1988?
It's Magic.
No.
Kareem. No.
Worthy. James Worthy. Yeah, man. So tonight is, once again, AD did his thing, being the first one in 18 years, and then, of course, LeBron James doing his thing and matching up with these Laker greats, man. Frank Vogel said he was pleased with the team's defense in the first 4 games against a very good Portland offense. We performed and notice he said the first 4 games. That's the most important part. We performed at an extremely high level on the defensive end before it slipped a bit tonight. And Mike Trudell,
end of the third quarter, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, you throw this whole entire night away for me in the sense of, that's not the normal defense that they play, but that's the normal offense that they can play, which is good to know. LeBron and AD were combined 28 of 37 tonight, a cool 75% towards the 79 of LA's 131 points. That's just insane. That's just insane.
Just played great and consistent and efficient. That's the thing for me. The fact that these guys didn't even play 40 minutes each and got the numbers that they did. Also, it's an indictment against Portland because obviously they don't play any defense. But neither does Houston for the most part. And even though that they're playing better defense because it's the playoffs. It's going to be a lot harder to maintain the type of defensive intensity that they have now against players like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Mike Trudell says
barbecue chicken.
Barbecue chicken. He says in a potential matchup with Houston, in crunch time matchups, it would be Tucker on AD and Covington on LeBron. But for OKC, it likely would be Dort on LeBron. And if people watched earlier today, Dort was giving James Harden all kinds of fits. He's great defensively because he has size, but he's not a really good shooter. Their matchup at the 4-5 for AD is trickier for OKC. And this is why it's a little weird. But Adams, if they go big, or Gallinari, if they go small, neither one of those guys can stop AD, right? That's what we're saying.
Anthony Davis is too agile for bigs and too big for smalls. So Anthony Davis is just, whether it be OKC or Houston, he's going to average 35 to 40 points, like I went out on a limb and said already. Now, as far as LeBron, if it's Dort that's going to be on LeBron, then I'll take that matchup over Dort all day, every day. Why? Because Dort has a physical advantage over somebody like James Harden with the girth and the types of and the length that he has to be able to defend James Harden the way that he does.
Yeah.
But for LeBron can match the girth that Dort has, and LeBron can actually shoot the ball. Dort went 0 for 9 from 3 today, so
Dort
I'll take that
was
matchup all day,
trash.
every day. I mean, not defensively, he's not trash, but
No, offensively.
offensively today, yeah, 0 for 9 is pretty trash. I have to admit.
And there's at one point where he had more shots than anybody else on his team, and I don't even know how that game plan even gets executed, where Dort gets more shots than CP3 and anybody else. But yeah, like you said, there's pluses and minuses on both sides, so we'll see how he goes, man. So we appreciate you guys coming through. We have essentially some nights off now. It's really weird, but we don't really know when we're going to play again. It's either going to be Wednesday or it's going to be Friday, and it's all going to be dictated by what happens in the next couple of days. But here's the biggest thing, is that basketball is back on. The players did a tremendous job. We didn't even address this tonight, but we'll probably address it next time. But just even with the protest and everything sitting out and the drama that unfolded and all of that stuff, and to watch the team come out like they ain't got no worries whatsoever when it comes to the drama that was reported. And there was effective change that was happening. Of course, you guys have heard all of the NBA stadiums across the nation are going to be voting stations. So Staples Center will be a place to vote. Can you think about how huge that is to have all the Staples Center opened up and all of the Laker fans showing up just to vote? That's going to be a first in NBA history for me.
I'm going to personally drop my ballot off, my mail-in ballot at Staples Center, just because they did that. So
just because they did that.
It's a little out of the way for me being mid-city, but I don't care. The fact that they did that, I'm going to go personally drop off my ballot. I'm not going to stand in line and vote there because I'm going to do a little early voting and get my ballot early. But if you can, I advise that you do so, regardless of if you're in LA County or not. Quick thing that I want to say on that, props to those guys for standing pat and working out and talking their issues out. They're a family, and sometimes family have disagreements and are not always on the same page, like the Milwaukee Bucks weren't. But ultimately, you know, obviously you heard reports between the Lakers and the Clippers opting out or voting not to play for the majority or going back and forth, and Patrick Beverley saying, you know, disrespectful things to Michelle Roberts and Udonis Haslem and Michael Jordan and CP3 being as involved as they were. Just props to everybody coming together and getting done collectively what we needed to get done and getting something done in a day or two that we probably it could have taken 5 to 10 years to do. Just the fact that they opened up all of the majority of arenas as polling stations alone is great, and having a committee and having the commercials. We already seen a few of the commercials they've already put together in less than 48 hours, 48 to 72 hours. They already have commercials on TNT, ESPN, advocating for justice, for you know, racial injustice and justice overall. You know, for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and now unfortunately Jacob Blake. So just proud of what the league has done. And I was a little skeptical. I was in with LeBron, and maybe some of my anger and some of my frustration came out in the Slack. So if any of our Showtime Forum guys are watching, you know, my apologies for, you know, venting my own frustration as well, because it turns out I had the same frustration as LeBron, because I was like, what's the plan? Why do you stop playing if you don't have a plan? And can you just start playing again with that? What if nothing happens? When do you start playing again? So there's a whole lot of questions and a whole lot of issues that went on over the last 48 to 72 hours. But overall, proud it got handled as best as it could, and we're back to basketball, and now we're in the second round, still pushing for number 17.
Absolutely. And so if you didn't catch that message at the end, man, please make sure you are registered to vote. If there was ever a year to vote, people, this is the year to vote. So please make that happen. The players care about it. We at Showtime Forum care about it. And hopefully you guys care about it as well. Terrence said, yo, can we talk about Luka and his future? Luka is going to be Luka, and he's going to be at the Dallas Mavericks. Cuban ain't letting that man go. He's going to be where he's going to be at. But I'll tell you one thing: when we come to his house, we taking all the cookies. I'm just telling you that right now. He can do whatever he want to do. We ain't the Clippers. So, with that being said, we appreciate you guys. Maybe in a different live or something. Maybe, man. And we can't wait to see you guys. So hopefully, if we don't see you Friday or see you Wednesday, we'll see you Friday, starting round 2 against either the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Rockets. Be looking out for those games as well. But until that time, man, the players get rest. We're gonna get some rest, and hopefully, you guys will have some rest tomorrow on your Sunday. So we appreciate you guys, and until next time, Chaz, you want to give them any shout out? Anything that you want to tell them about the podcast, clothing, what's going
on? Real quick. You guys know, get your merch. Can't Beat LA. This is an exclusive for my boy Aldell. He's going to drop these hats, I believe, in the next few weeks. And the Lake Show, Can't Beat LA T. Go online, cb-la.com, goldennightgfx.com. Go get your merch. And me and Chris are going to drop another podcast. I believe at the beginning of next week, either Monday or Tuesday. And yeah, go Houston. I'd rather OKC win on Monday, so that way we don't get too much rest and we just play Wednesday, and that way we can get right onto this thing and push on to the Western Conference Finals. Let's get it.
I'm with it, man. So until then, we'll see y'all. Have a good night.